Hello beautiful people, welcome back to another exciting video. Today's video is from History with Hilbert. What did the Polish do on D-Day? What did the Polish do on D-Day? Poland's contribution, Normandy, 1944. This should be interesting. A little bit of history, which I'm so interested in. You guys know that we have a lot of video about Poland, so anything to take us down, memory lanes, history, cultures and tradition of the people, we are here for it. Okay, my name is Oge. Welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, hello, hi. Do also like, share, subscribe, drop a comment on this video, especially if you're from Poland, ever visited Poland, lived in Poland. Drop your comment on what you think about this video. Additional information will be highly appreciated. Let's get straight into this video.
One of the most pivotal moments of the Second World War was D-Day and the following Normandy landings that would lead to the Allied recapture of much of occupied Europe. On D-Day, the three nations most involved with the taking of the beaches in Normandy were the United States, the United Kingdom and its empire, and particularly the Canadians, who were responsible for taking Juno Beach. However, as I mentioned in the video that I uploaded previously about the Dutch contribution at D-Day, there were many smaller nations that also took part in the fighting on land, in the air and on the high seas. And today's video, I'd like to talk about a nation that really doesn't deserve to be called a small nation when it comes to the Second World War, and that is to talk about Poland and the contribution of Polish soldiers in the fighting around D-Day. So of course the Poles were there at the very beginning of the Second World War in Europe. In 1939 it was the invasion of Poland that would bring Britain and France into open war against the Germans. Now the Poles had their hands full fighting against the Germans, and soon after they were also invaded by the Soviets in the east. Despite a gallant defense against their enemies, they proved too strong for the Poles to fight against. However, that wasn't the end of the story for the Polish armed forces, as many of them were able to escape occupied Poland and would go on to fight again in the Battle of France and then in several other Allied campaigns in North Africa, Italy and indeed in Normandy. Of all the nations on the Allied side after the Soviet Union, the United States and the United Kingdom, it was the Poles who had the most people fighting in their armed forces, be that the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, or in resistance groups. And the Poles could be found in many different campaigns in all of these branches, fighting alongside the British, with many Poles being stationed in Britain. Of course, they also played a very important role in intelligence, with the Polish Home Army or resistance movement in Poland itself often supplying crucial information to the Allied, such as also the Enigma machine that the Allies would then later use and crack to decode German secret messages. Now, the Poles were very important on D-Day. By March of 1944, it's estimated there were around 195,000 Polish servicemen and women in the United Kingdom fighting alongside the British and their allies. Some 20,000 of these were in the Polish Air Force, which was under the command of the Royal Air Force, and some 3,000 were fighting on board Polish ships, which were under the command of the Royal Navy. Let's begin by taking a look at the Polish Air Force and their contributions on D-Day. Perhaps the biggest moment for the Polish Air Force wasn't on D-Day but 4 years earlier during the Battle of Britain, when the Germans attempted to destroy the RAF so that they could invade mainland Britain. The Polish 303rd Squadron claimed the most kills during the Battle of Britain. This was despite the fact that they actually joined the fighting 2 months after many of the other squadrons had already engaged the Germans, racking up some 126 confirmed kills. Apart from 303rd Squadron, it was said by Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding, the head of RAF Fighter Command, that had it not been for the magnificent material contributed by the Polish squadrons and their unsurpassed gallantry, I hesitate to say that the outcome of the battle would have been the same. Polish airmen would also have a role to play during D-Day, with 11 out of 16 Polish air squadrons in the RAF taking part on the day itself and the following campaign. They would largely be in charge of protecting the landing fleet from enemy aircraft, although they would also fire on enemy submarines, sinking several U-boats or being involved in hindering U-boat actions, as well as targeting German logistics and supplies. In particular, 305 Squadron was famous for a very successful hit on an enemy fuel depot in Nancy in the north of France, where they managed to destroy some 13 million litres of fuel. This was heralded by the papers at the time as the Polish victory in the Battle of France. The second time, of course, that the Poles had fought in the Battle for France, though this time they would be on the winning side. The Polish Navy also played a role during D-Day, with ORP Dragon, which had formerly been HMS Dragon and then in 1943 was given over to the Polish Navy, providing support for two Polish smaller ships, the ORP Ślązak and the ORP Krakowiak.
Wow, so we can see the importance of the Poles, of the Polish people on D-Day, their contribution, in Normandy. But I would love to ask a few questions because, this is a bit of history, not even a bit of history, this is mainly history. And there are so many things here I'm trying to understand about Poland, right? What does D-Day actually mean? I can understand that what I can get from it, this is that, it's like a battle, like the war, the role the role of the Polish people in this whole war and in this whole fight. But what does D-Day actually mean? What does it even signify? I'd love to know in the comment section if you know. I'm sorry, I'm not from Poland, so these things are actually very new to me. I'm trying to understand, what does D-Day actually mean, because I can see that the Polish people played very significant, important roles, in this. It was just like as if these guys were not here, what would have happened? Did you get? It's obvious that they were so important in this contribution. It would have gone any other way if they were not there. So what does this D-Day actually mean? Because the Polish people, we can see that their army was the strongest. They had more people in the army, more people in the force, to fight during this war, which is very interesting. We know that the Polish people and Poland, they invest so much in their army, in their military. So it is not even news that they had more hands on the battlefield. They had more skilled men. Even on air, they had more skilled people. So, but I'd love to know, what does D-Day actually mean? What does it signify? What's its role? What happened? What preceded it? What was what introduced, Normandy? All these terms, if it can be explained, I really appreciate it, because I know that some people are actually watching that might not really understand what this is, but I can just see the significance of Poland people in the battle, in the fight here with France and the Germans, with the US guys, all these people. So I'm just trying to, what does D-Day actually mean? Yeah.
Smaller ships, the ORP Ślązak and the ORP Krakowiak, who would be involved in firing on batteries, German batteries on the coast before the landings took place. The Polish army under British command would also play a role, but not on D-Day itself, however, during the Normandy campaign. In particular, of note is Stanisław Maciek, who was a Polish general who was a veteran of the First World War, of the Polish-Ukrainian War, and the Polish-Soviet War. He had fought in Poland and then again in the 1940 Battle of France. After that, he retreated with the British army and went to Edinburgh, where there are still several statues of him. In Scotland, he formed the 1st Armoured Division, which would later be shipped to Normandy. Their big moment came during the fighting around the Falaise Pocket, which was formed when elements of the 7th Army and several panzer divisions were trapped by the advancing Allies just south of Caen, but put up strong resistance. During this period of fighting, the Poles were involved in two areas. To the north, where Zgorzelski's brigade and Kosciuszki's brigade were fighting around Gudar, and in the south, where Loszucki's brigade was fighting around Chambois. The Poles proved to be very important during this fighting, which involved American, British and Canadian forces, as well as those of several other nations, including the Free French. Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery, the hero of Alamein, noted that the Germans were in a bottle and the Polish division was like a cork which we capped them with. After this, the Polish would also be very important in the liberation of several parts of France, as well as of the port towns of Belgium and the Netherlands. As you can see, they made a very strong advance up the northern coast, fighting in many of the most important battles in the Low Countries, and this is why they are particularly remembered, including General Maciek, on street names and with statues, such as this one in Belgium and this monument in the Netherlands, which may look like it's a modern art kind of sculpture, but it's actually the symbol of the 1st Polish Armed Division, which is based on the winged hussars and the shape of the husaria, which you can see here on this monument from Normandy, which commemorated the 1st Polish Armed Division. And indeed, General Maciek, when he died in 1994, was buried in Breda at the cemetery where many other Poles who've died during the liberation of the Netherlands were buried. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching this video about the history behind the Polish contribution to D-Day and a little bit further about the Poles fighting in the campaign in Normandy and the rest of Europe to free the people there from German occupation. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Would you like to see the videos of what any other nations did on and after D-Day? I was thinking perhaps Belgium also had an interesting contribution. Czechoslovakia also sent many pilots and had several units in the British Army as well, or maybe perhaps something about the French. What was the role of the French resistance, the Free French, and things like this. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. Dziękuję bardzo I do widzenia.
Wow, that was quite informative, very, very informative, and it's lovely to see that the world celebrates the Polish guys. They gave them their flowers, they appreciated them by putting up different monuments in different parts of the world, which I think, I mean, not different parts of the world, like so in the US, in France, in the UK. I mean, it means that they actually appreciate them and they actually see them, because, I mean, we can see from here that Polish people played a crucial role on D-Day. Like they played like a very important role on D-Day, which I think a lot of people would appreciate, right? Please drop your thoughts and comment on what you think about D-Day. What was not mentioned here? What does D-Day mean? You know, what does all these terms mean, especially to us that, you know, are just getting, because I still think I need to go do some research about D-Day, Poland's contribution to Normandy and all of those things. I'm definitely going to go and find that out after this video, because I mean, this was very interesting to watch, right? Let's know your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Do not forget to like, share, subscribe, turn on post notification bell, and I'll see you in my next episode. Bye bye.